Welcome back to Your Girls channel. So excited to be with you today, talking to church leaders, church elders who want to support people with mental illness, but don't necessarily know the best way and know how. As somebody who struggled with mental health while being in church, I want to share today how I wish people in the church would have shown up for me during my journey. First, I want to talk about the need of why being able to support people who struggle with their mental illness is so important. Did you know that nearly 50 million Americans have some type of mental illness? That's 1 out of every 5 people. And yet, over half of people who struggle with mental illness do not receive the correct treatment. That is mind-blowing to me. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in people ages 10 through 34. And it's the 12th leading cause of death in general. In 2020 alone, nearly 1.2 million people attempted suicide. This should be alarming, not only for people across the United States, but definitely people in the church. The fact that so many young people are attempting to take their own life should be alarming, and we should be fighting so hard to support people who struggle with their mental health. So if you really want to help somebody in your church with mental illness, my cat, why does she keep talking? I think she wants to be featured. Hi. Wait like 5 seconds and she'll freak out. I knew it, see? So if we really want to help people in the church who struggle with mental illness, I suggest these 7 steps. I was gonna put this, but I realized that's a 5. So I suggest these 7 steps to help people in your church who are struggling with mental illness. The first thing that I would suggest is you gotta build a relationship. No one is going to open up to you if you do not have trust with them. So the first thing that I would suggest doing is going out to eat with somebody, a group of friends, go to Bible study together, get to know people outside of any depth. Meaning, you don't have to have these crazy in-depth conversations right away. You really just have to be around people, and then the rest will come. So the first thing is get to know people at your church. The second thing is ask. Meaning, ask how somebody's doing. Somebody who struggles with mental illness is fighting every day. They're fighting in private. They don't want people around them to necessarily know that they're struggling like crazy. But we want an outlet. We want to be able to talk to somebody. We want to be able to share what's going on in our heart and in our mind. And so the second thing I would say is ask. How are you doing? But not in the cliche way that people ask, but ask like, how are you actually doing? How's your heart? And I promise you that if you've built a relationship, people will open up to you about their mental illness. Once you ask, you really have to listen. We need you to listen without any judgment. We need you to listen without having something to say next. We just need you to listen. After you listen, you need to just validate. That's it. You might not know, you probably don't, if you don't struggle with mental illness, know what we're going through. But I beg you to just say, I can see the pain in your eyes, and I hear you. That's all you have to say. You don't have to solve it for us. Trust me, we've been trying to solve it for a long time. After you acknowledge and you validate what we're going through and our struggle, the next thing is the most important thing in my opinion. Do not, I repeat, do not try to be the mental health professional. This is so important because as pastors, as spiritual mentors, you are not trained in our specific mental illness. In order to help us, don't give us any advice. I would suggest pushing us to somebody who is a professional in mental health. I can't imagine what it'd be like, y'all, to have a church that has like a team of mental health professionals. That is the goal, for real. Because you are not trained as a pastor in how to help somebody with a mental illness. You are trained to shepherd your flock, right? To give them access to resources to help them. So I suggest that you give them resources and help in finding somebody else who can help them professionally, who can subscribe them the right medication, who can give you the correct therapy. I promise you are probably not that person. Somebody who struggles with a mental illness needs a professional to help them heal. The next thing after you give somebody a resource of a mental health professional, or you push them to a mental health professional, then I would say, okay, now we pray. I would not say prayer is the only thing that's going to help that person. It's just not. I have experienced that before, of how many times people have prayed and prayed for me, and it just doesn't work because there is a chemical imbalance. There's a rewiring issue in the brain that prayer isn't going to fix on its own. So I would encourage you then to pray. However, the prayer, I think, should look a little different. We do want to pray for healing because we do believe as Christians God can heal. We do believe in miraculous healings. However, I would shift the prayer from, Lord, heal this person, take this person's thoughts, take this person's depression, and I would suggest praying for the resources, the people, the tools to help this person heal. So I would pray for direction. I would pray for the correct therapy, the correct diagnosis. That is how I would pray with somebody who is dealing with mental illness, not just instantaneously, because if somebody is praying for me and they're praying for healing for my mind, from anxiety, and I'm still struggling because I'm not doing anything different, I'm not in therapy, I'm not in counseling, I'm not taking medication, I now think that God isn't answering a prayer. And that's just not the case. Sometimes he answers prayers differently, and sometimes we actually have to step out and do the work in order to break through our mental illness. I have a video about how to break through in your mental illness, so I would suggest you go ahead and watch that. So the last thing that I would do after all of those previous 6 steps is help other leaders in your church follow these steps, okay? The biggest thing is, do not expect your staff at your church who is not trained as a mental health professional to help people with mental illnesses. So train your staff. There are a lot of people, I guarantee, in your church who are battling. They're battling some type of mental illness. They're battling anxiety. They're battling depression. They're battling OCD. They're battling something that is not necessarily visible to you. And so I believe that these steps will help you as a church leader start to chip away at this mental health crisis we are seeing right now in our country. Overall, I hope this helps at least 1, 2, 3 people support and love on people who struggle with mental illness. Go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.